Hello everyone! Today I'm outside because it is a beautiful day out and I'm here to talk to you about music therapy in adults. This is my part 2 of a 2-part video, and if you missed my first one, you can go on to Omaha Music Therapy's Facebook page. It should be listed there and go check it out. So last week we talked about music therapy and adults who've had a diagnosis for their whole lives. Maybe they were diagnosed early in life, but we didn't meet them until adulthood and we didn't start working with them until they were adults. So today we're going to focus on music therapy in adults who did not receive that diagnosis until later in life. We're also going to talk about well people, and within that population, specifically bereavement and grief. So I'm going to start off this video by saying the definition of music therapy, which is the profession where a board-certified music therapist uses music as a therapeutic tool to help clients achieve non-musical goals. And like I said, today I'm going to jump into what music therapy might look like with adults who received a diagnosis later in life, and also well people who might be experiencing grief. So I'm just going to focus on the diagnoses that I have experience with, but the list goes on. Music therapy can help so many different individuals. Music therapy can be a great modality for a lot of different diagnoses, but today I'm just going to focus on the ones I have experience with personally, which is traumatic brain injuries or TBIs, Parkinson's, and well people, specifically bereavement and grief. So I'm going to give some examples of goals that we might have when we're working with someone with Parkinson's or someone who has a TBI or had a stroke, and well people. And we're also going to talk about what music therapy sessions might look like in that moment. So we're going to start with Parkinson's, and some goals that we might work with people who have Parkinson's is increase quality of life, decrease agitation, increase comfort, decrease pain, and maybe processing any grief that they might be having due to not being as mobile as they once were, and maybe not having as much independence as they used to. And so maybe we're working on processing that grief with them. And these goals are very similar to our hospice goals, and sometimes Parkinson's and hospice go hand in hand. If you haven't seen my hospice video, go ahead and go on to Omaha Music Therapy's Facebook page. It should be listed there. I encourage you to go check it out. So those might be some goals that we're working with. And a session might look like relaxation, where we're using patient-preferred music to deepen the client's relaxing state. And that could be we are trying to match the music to their heart rate, to the rise and fall of their chest, their breathing rate, and really just sink deeper into a relaxation state. And in that moment, we can work on increasing quality of life, decreasing pain, decreasing agitation. We can also work on body check-in and appreciation, where we're not only going through each body part and acknowledging how it feels in the moment, but also thanking it and showing our appreciation for our different body parts and all that they have done for us. And no matter what level of ability that we have in that moment, thanking it for allowing us to do so many different things. Another thing that we can work on is singing. And in that moment, we are improving breath, we're increasing quality of life, we're decreasing agitation, increasing mood, increasing comfort, decreasing pain and agitation. So a lot of these goals and a lot of the stuff that we do in the sessions are really getting tied together. It's very neat that all these things are happening in one session. So to move on to traumatic brain injuries and stroke, some goals that we could work on is crossing the midline. And what I mean by that is taking our hand and crossing the midline of our bodies, which is a complex cognitive movement, and someone who has a TBI might struggle with that movement. So that could be something that we're working towards. Also, maybe with this population, we are processing any grieving that they have about loss of movement and loss of independence. We are increasing quality of life, increasing movement maybe in their left hand or their right leg, whatever maybe they've lost in movement and modality. We're working towards getting some of that movement back by instrument play and other different activities. Also, we could work on increasing communication and language skills. And so some of the sessions might look like, especially with crossing that midline, is having a couple drums for the client to really work on crossing that midline and hitting that drum, and same with the other way, the other direction. And that way we're just using music and using instrument play to help clients achieve that movement, that complex movement. Also, we could be working on singing to help language and communication skills. And with that, a quick story. If you know the story of Gabby Giffords, she was a congresswoman in Arizona who was shot in the head and survived. And she says to this day, the reason she walks is because of music therapy. And if you YouTube search Gabby Giffords and music therapy, you'll see this beautiful video where her speech therapist and music therapist is helping her repeat, like they will say a word and she will repeat the word, and she was having issues saying light. But once they started singing, "This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine," Gabby jumped right in and was able to sing light and all of those words through song. So in this instance, music therapy helped Gabby get her language skills back to where maybe not quite how they were before, but improve on her language skills that were lost in the accident. So that's a beautiful story. I really encourage you to YouTube it. Very beautiful. We could also be working with adaptive instrument play, and that might be using straps to strap on a tambourine or an egg shaker to someone's hand, maybe the hand that they don't have as much mobility in anymore, to increase that movement and really to increase pleasure and mood. Okay, the next population I'm going to talk about is well people, and more specifically grief and bereavement. So with well people, music therapy can improve the quality of life of well people as well. That might look like decreasing anxiety, decreasing depression, and maybe in the creative music space that we make with that person, we're creating tools that they can use to transfer to their daily lives outside of music therapy to help them relax, help them increase their mood and increase their quality of life, and use those tools on their own in their daily life. With bereavement and grief, we are maybe processing and increasing quality of life always, decreasing anxiety, decreasing depression, and like I said, really verbally processing and maybe musically processing their grief, their feelings, and where they're at in that moment because their loved one has passed on. And a session could look like maybe us writing a song about their feelings, about the grief that they're experiencing, and putting it into a melody and into a song. Another session could maybe look like us putting a CD together of the loved music that their loved ones enjoyed. So that's some examples of goals and of what a music therapy session might look like. And I'm going to end this video with a couple stories. And so we have a client who has a TBI, and we are working on crossing that midline, like I mentioned earlier, and we're using drums. And when he first came to us, he really struggled with crossing that midline, and he would get so tired so fast and so exerted. And so the cool thing we discovered is that if we keep having him do this exercise when he comes and sees us, he's actually increasing the amount of time he's able to make that movement and to do those drumming patterns with crossing that midline. And so he is improving every day with that movement, and I can't wait to keep discovering little things that is going to help him in his everyday life with that movement and maybe with other things. Another story I have is about a patient I have who's on hospice and who has had a stroke, and she's really struggling with the fact that her mobility is not all there like it used to be, and she's struggling with the lack of independence that she has now compared to previous years. And so one session, she was very agitated and I just started doing some relaxation patterns on the guitar, and it turned into a relaxation exercise where she did a full body check-in and recognized how her body was feeling in that moment. And she reported feeling a lot more relaxed after the body check-in, and we were able to talk about how she felt in that moment, and hopefully she's able to transfer that tool and that relaxation state of mind in her everyday life. So that's all I have for today. Thank you for listening to my video. I hope to see you guys next week. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you soon.